Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Gangrene Against the World podcast. I'm Allan Simon. It is Browns week for the Jets as the 1-7 Jets will take on the 2-6 Browns. An exciting game at MetLife Stadium. And to talk about the Jets and just the whole world of the NFL right now, the great Dom Papa joins me. So Dom, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me again, Allan. In a couple of weeks.
Want to start with, I did the reaction to the Sauce Gardner trade and the Quinnen Williams trade. The more I've sat on it, the more I feel I've confirmed how I felt right away, which is those were the right trades. They were good returns. And it is depressing that the Jets are in a situation where they had to do it. So although you represent the Dolphins, you are a local and you follow the Giants and Jets very closely. What were your initial reactions to the Jets making those moves? Do you think they were good moves? And how do you think it works out for them long term?
I'll tell you this, I didn't hate it. I think in a league where you need to find a franchise quarterback, in a league that's built around everything, pertaining to offense, whether it's the rules of the game and everything like that, this having great defensive stars is a luxury, but when you're a bad team, it's not really helping you. And we can get good assets back in the form that they did with multiple first-round picks and an extra second. I mean, that's kind of crazy when you start to think about it. From a Dolphins fan perspective, I could actually give you a trip down memory lane that while the season may not go how you want it to, let me tell you, this offseason and next offseason is going to just be so much fun. So in 2020, Miami traded Vincent Fitzpatrick for a first-round pick, along with Laramie Tunzel for 2 first-round picks. So they had the same situation where they owned 5 first-round picks over the span of 2 years. Mm-hmm. Now, it didn't exactly work out, which, in Jets territory and Dolphins territory, things tend to not do so. But in 2020, they drafted Tua instead of Justin Herbert. They drafted Austin Jackson, their often injured, right tackle, who's good when he plays, but he doesn't. A corner named Noah Ejbajanije, who has been kind of bounced around the league from now. And then in 2021, they actually benefited from that Texans trade in the aspect that Texans pick was the 3rd pick in the draft. So They went from 3, this is the stuff that you got to think about that's kind of fun with it, is they went from 3 to 12 with San Francisco, when San Francisco wanted to get Trey Lance, which obviously did not work out for them. And they got 2 additional first-round picks. They traded from 12 back to 6 with Philadelphia for some reason before the draft. Picked up Jalen Waddle, who's a nice player, but not a superstar. And then they still had another San Francisco pick for the 2023 draft, which unfortunately they traded for Bradley Chubb, and then they forfeited the other one for the Tom Brady allegation.
That's
so
right.
Just about everything that could have gone wrong with this. They picked up a lot of good players. I mean, you have Jalen Phillips who's a part of that. Those 5 first-round picks who just got traded to the Eagles. He's a nice player. Jalen Waddle's a nice player. Tua's a nice player. Austin Jackson's a nice player. The sad part is, if you don't hit on a couple of superstars or great players, it's all for nothing. You can have a roster full of good players, but if you don't hit for real on all pros, it's not going to matter.
And that's the point, right? The flexibility it gives you is great. The Jets had 3 first-round picks in 2022, and they hit on all 3 of them with Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson. And then they draft Breece Hall. They have Jeremy Ruckert in that draft class. What's amazing to me is that they had a draft not too long ago where they have 4 starters that they draft in one draft, and then rotational guys that play, and the team is still in such a terrible situation where you have to move those parts.
Yeah, and I know he's hurt now, but Elijah Tucker was a part of that whole regime. I don't know if he was the same year or the year after. I mean, we were erecting a statue for Joe Douglas with his, he had the offensive and defensive rookie of the year in the same year, and he got traded for Rodgers after the fact. I mean, everything was kind of going great and kind of crazy pre-Aaron Rodgers Achilles injury. I mean, you think about the amount of primetime games they were put in.
6.
Everybody kind of expected them to be the next big thing, and it just went completely sideways.
And the reason why Joe Douglas, despite hitting on all those picks, isn't here is because the quarterback he drafted was Zach Wilson, and when Rodgers went down, they didn't go to a Joe Flacco or someone else. They stuck with Zach Wilson, and then, Mike White gave them a little bit of burn. But it was the right trades to make. Quinnen Williams' contract needs to be restructured out this year anyway. I think they would have traded him this offseason most likely. And Sauce Gardner's deal was built to move. That extension was one that it was palpable for someone else to take in if they decide to go this direction. But the point that I've been fighting people on TikTok, which I didn't think I'd be doing in my life, but here I am, on my post about how stunning it is that the Jets are at this point. The reason why it's stunning is not just that the Jets are bad. The Jets are so bad and so far away that they're trading all pros for the hopes of finding other all pros, and money plays a part in it. And I think Quinnen was done. He's been here for 7 years. He's never played for anything. So it all makes sense. It's just depressing. And speaking of depressing, the thing I texted you before we went on, 3 years ago today, the Jets beat the Bills at MetLife Stadium to go to 6-3 before their bye week. The Dolphins were right in the thick of things. They end up making the playoffs that year. All 4 teams in the East were above 500. The Jets, of course, they beat the Bills, and I am very sure they're going to the playoffs. They're going to the bye week, leaving that stadium. It's the last time you really felt something like this. And then they have a bye week. They have the game against Bill Belichick and the Patriots that shattered the glass on Zach Wilson and said, hey, you just put 8 in the box. You don't let him run around. And, the Jets haven't really been close since. The hope now is, like you said, you use these picks for the right things. I'm hearing a lot of people talking about, you can package these picks for a veteran quarterback, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree. That doesn't make a lot of sense because now this team needs a lot more than just a veteran quarterback. They're not a QB away from being competitive.
No, I mean, it's the number one thing that they need, obviously, but you're not, I mean, what's even out there at this point? You're not finding the next, listen, there's been a couple lucky things with the Sam Darnolds and the Baker Mayfields and Daniel Jones, but that's just been a recent weird trend. That's kind of new age that has even happened. And they've got to put into perfect systems. I mean, if Aaron Glenn's going to be here with his current regime, I mean, I don't really know that they're built that great for a quarterback. I mean, he refuses to name a starter to the
Oh, it's
media ever, which
crazy.
has been a whole
Yeah.
nother story. I mean, I don't know what he's doing. This is a different media market. You can't be kind of playing with reporters in the New York market and expect it to go well for you. So I don't know what kind of bad PR advice he's going to get. I actually think he's going to be one and done. It's not going to shock me at all. I think that Muji's kind of positioned himself to kind of do whatever he wants with these type of moves. Hey, I have the first round picks. I know what I'm doing, but he should distance himself from this real quick because it has been a total disaster as far as I'm concerned.
I can't believe that either the Jets PR team isn't telling them anything.
He's unlikable. He's just an
Yeah,
unlikable guy who just seems to think that he's better than everybody. He just has that sort of persona that you never got to see, obviously, since he wasn't a head coach and he was just a DC. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a weird situation since he was with the Jets for so long as a player.
you
Sometimes that
think
can
he'd
become a little
know.
awkward. But
Yeah.
in this league where you kind of need an offensive mind, you can't have a stubborn defensive minded head coach to do what? I mean, the Dolphins saw that with Brian Flores a couple years ago, who was a very good coach, but he didn't want to get on board with anybody else.
Yeah, and you see the two paths that Glenn and Muji are going. Glenn is basically saying, I said I wanted the Jets to be a team that Jets fans would be proud of. I didn't say it was going to happen right away, which is nonsense. That is someone who put way too many chips in early on, talked too big of a game, and now has to backpedal because they're 1-7. But this roster was not designed to be a bottom 3 team. This was not a team that
No.
was supposed to win 2 games. And for Muji's been really good. And I think that there is a world where Muji stays and Glenn goes, but this all feels to me like it's being set up where Glenn's going to have another run at this because I think Glenn has a say in the roster too.
Too, but I think it's a problem. I mean, this roster was not that bad. I mean,
Yeah,
you just traded 2 all pros. Garrett Wilson's a great NFL receiver. Brees Hall's a really good running back. I mean, obviously the quarterback situation they missed, but Armand Membu's been pretty good as a first round pick. He hasn't been bad. I mean, Muji kind of seems to have pulled all the strings right, with the exception of the Justin Fields disaster. You look at Aaron Glenn, and the other thing I can't understand when he's doing this quarterback thing, what advantage does it give you that you're not telling the team who you're starting? Tyrod Taylor and
it's
Justin Fields. I mean, it's
so
2
dumb.
bad quarterbacks who are just not, neither one of them is very good. What is that helping you with?
Yeah, it's it is like it's all eyewash. It's him trying to pretend like he knows what he's doing. It's why I keep going at it with people on Twitter every time he brings up a veteran coach that he's talked to or a hall. I was talking to Donny Dungy. This reminds you of
Oh
Bill
yeah.
Parcells. Like it just shows that he is so little confidence in himself right now.
He's made
To
Rob Saleh look like Vince Lombardi. I mean,
oh
it's
yeah,
just been a
and
total disaster. If you told me this last year, I would have said let's keep Saleh, who I
well,
think kind of got a
100%.
raw into the deal a little bit. I mean, I don't think Saleh was the greatest head coach, but his defense was still always good.
Yeah, he won 7 games twice, with this
Zach
team.
Wilson.
Yeah, it was Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. The framing of his season has shifted over time. He was terrible to start the year. I mean, they lose so many games by one possession, but Robert Saleh did the thing. He built the defense in his vision, and he just missed on the quarterback. And then they had the worst luck in the world on that 2023 team. I really believe could have been special, but Achilles gets popped and that's it. But Glenn has been a failure in every aspect. This defense is not good. It's only going to get worse now. And he's a defensive head coach. And, they beat the Bengals last week. And I don't know if not saying who the quarterback was gave you a benefit. The Bengals end up giving up 40 points the next
They do
week.
that to everybody.
Yeah, and then now you're going to face, the Browns are a bad team. Dylan Gabriel is as bad of a quarterback so far this year you'll ever see. He's the worst in terms of Pro Football Focus of anyone who started a game this year. But the Jets need to show they can stop even a bad offense. And the defense, though, is really good. And I think Justin Fields, if he's the one who plays, and I think it will be him, I think he's going to really struggle against the second best defense in the league.
I think it's interesting too how the Jets just traded away all their best assets for first round picks. Somehow end up winning this game and kind of defeating the whole purpose of the tank.
Well,
I mean, this would be the perfect little thing to happen. Is hey, we just traded our two best players, and then you're trying basically
but you know
tanking.
what?
I mean, you
I
can't say
want
tanking
that.
out loud,
I
but I
would
don't
rather
blame
they
you. You know what?
win.
This
Yeah,
is not a year where there's a big time quarterback. I mean, there's
exactly.
just not. There's a bunch of guys. I mean, you got Fernando Mendoza, who looks really good. You got Doctor. I watched the kid at Alabama, the Simpson kid. None of them had a ton of college experience. I mean,
No.
Mendoza's a 2-year starter, and that's it. Like after that, what's it? The Parcells one that he claims you need to have 36 starts to be a good
Yeah,
NFL. How many quarterbacks in the league do you see that were not multiple year college starters? It's rare. I mean, it
yeah,
really is. The last one that I can remember being great that way was Cam Newton, and that was a
yeah,
whole different scenario.
yeah.
Obviously,
Because left
kicked out of
Florida,
Florida,
and
that's a little bit
yeah,
different, but you don't see it. It just does not happen.
and Moore. I like Moore, but if you draft Moore, you can't have him start the first year.
He
You'd
can't. He
ruin
can't.
him.
He's not ready day one. I mean,
Yeah,
he's basically played a couple of games at where Cal he was at or UCLA,
yeah.
and now he's back at and now he's at Oregon. He looks very good,
He's
but
good.
you're playing with that Oregon. You know how it goes with college kids too. You get to a better system and everything like that. I mean, then again, well, Nix has been great out of that Oregon system, but look at him. He has 600 career starts in
Yeah,
college. He
and it
basically was
took
there for
some
9 years.
time. Yeah, I mean, it took him time to develop. He was really bad his rookie year, but I always am against tanking, and I don't think teams. I think teams try to tank by getting rid of their best players.
Yes.
The Jets aren't trying to win right now, but the best case scenario for me is that Aaron Glenn shows that he is a leader that guys still want to play for, and that there's something here. And if you win a few games, like don't lose to the
On the draft
Browns.
capital.
Yeah, and and if all of a sudden you fall in love with a guy and you're like, you know what, it has to be Mendoza. It's the only way. Well, you're gonna still have a high pick. It won't take that much to move up to number one. You'll give up some of the things you just acquired. But the worst case scenario is they lose to the Browns. They have such an easy schedule coming. They lose to the Browns, the Saints, the Dolphins, and then all of a sudden you're saying, well, Aaron Glenn isn't the guy at all. But do you one and done a guy and then keep the GM? It's such a mess. But I want to see them put together a respectable game on Sunday, or just completely bottom out so they get rid of Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, I think
Anything in between would be tough.
my rule of thumb has always been I will not root against the Dolphins until they have 9 losses. Once you get to 9, it just mathematically it's like, hey, we're not making the playoffs. 9 and 8, maybe 50-50 you get in at this point. But that's always my rule is I'm still in on the Dolphins, stupidly. 2-7, and I'm looking, hey, if we beat Buffalo, and then we got Washington, New Orleans, and the Jets, we can get back in it. You got to be a little bit of delusional as a fan. But there's a recent trend also. these quarterbacks that go number one overall just haven't been that great. Outside of Burrow, I mean, Justin Herbert's been great. He went six. Jordan Love went 26, and he's been good. Jaden Daniels was the second quarterback. He went two overall, but he was second. Drake May was third. They've both been better than Caleb Williams. So the quarterbacks are a little bit of an exact science, and everybody
Yeah.
kind of knows that. Lamar Jackson, 31st overall. Getting the number one pick does not guarantee you
It
anything outside of picking the player that you want.
Yeah, it gives you first choice, obviously, but and I've said this stat a bunch of times, but I think it's so important. In the history of the NFL, only 3 times has a team had the first overall pick, picked a quarterback, and that quarterback has won a Super Bowl for that team. It's only happened
Let
3
me see. It's
times.
got to be. It's got to be Elway.
So it's Elway.
I got to think about this for a minute.
Yeah, I'll let you
I
have
know.
till
I
the
know.
end.
Elway's definitely won. Peyton Manning
Yep.
and
There's one more. He played a little bit earlier than those 2 guys. But it's only 3, and if you look since 2000, 6 first-round picks have won a Super Bowl for the team they were drafted by, and only one was top 5, and it was Eli Manning, and he got traded by the Chargers. And so that's when people, and to me, saying root against your team, like I'm angry that the Jets won, it's like a simpleton's view on football. It's like, well, all I know is either you win or you get a good draft pick. But the reality is tanking and being terrible doesn't guarantee
yeah,
anything. What it probably guarantees is that you're still going to be really bad next year. Like teams don't take a leap from 2 wins to 10 wins. It doesn't happen.
no,
In the last episode, I'm going over the teams over the last 10 years with the fewest amount of wins. Those are a lot of the teams you expect to be really bad over the next few years too. Like you need to eventually build a foundation of winning. And anyone says like, well, just be bad so you get the best pick. Like you probably aren't in position to field the team around that
no. It's
quarterback to
usually
let
the
them be
case. I mean, look at
successful.
look at Carolina. They've been bad for years. I mean, you get the same team, and they had a number one overall pick a couple years ago. And Bryce Young, they're finally kind of turning the corner, but it's not because of him. I mean, he's one of
Yeah,
the worst quarterbacks in the league. I have no idea how they're doing it. Their roster's not bad, but you're right. You see the same teams. You see the Saints all of a sudden have been bad for a couple years since Peyton left, and you see the
the
Jets
Giants, the
there every year.
Jets,
The Giants have
yeah,
been bad for a couple of
the
years now. It's
Browns.
the same teams over. You look at Houston; they've been stuck in purgatory for 15 years.
Yeah. No, and they're in the division where at least it's easy to win a division. But, it's funny you mentioned Bryce Young, a first overall pick, who I think is destined to be a backup somewhere for the rest of his career. The game against Carolina at MetLife, he looks whatever. He just looks like nothing on the field. And then all of a sudden, I mean, a throw is zipped. And I'm like, okay, Bryce Young's got something. And then I realized it was Andy Dalton, that Andy Dalton came in and Bryce Young was hurt. Like you can
Red
just,
rifle.
yeah, I mean, your eyes can just tell you if a guy has it or not. And Muji has shown that he's got a really good feel for trades. It is easy to sell your great players. Like, I don't know if you get an award for getting a first round pick for Quinnen Williams. Those are great trades. To get 2 for Sauce Gardner, people wouldn't give up 2 for Lamar
I mean,
Jackson.
Sauce Gardner, what's got 3 career interceptions? He's a very good player. I'm not taking that
Yeah.
away from him, but to get 2 first round picks for a team that's going all in on Daniel Jones is certainly interesting
Yeah.
too.
And I think it's a perfect fit because you just need, when you're going to put up a ton of points, Sauce is a great corner for you. His ball skills are terrible. When the ball is thrown at him, bad things happen. But because he's so great in coverage, he has allowed the fewest amount of catches in all of football this year.
He's been
He's a
very good.
good corner, but he doesn't make game-changing plays. And for Quinnen, having a elite player who doesn't want to be there, I think trading him does 2 things. One, it was just time, 7 years, for a D tackle. It's just not worth to have that kind of payroll. But 2, I think players respect when a veteran leader like him is on a continuous bad team cycle, when a team then gives him a chance to play somewhere else and be successful. And I think other players see that and be like, okay, maybe the Jets aren't a terrible, terrible
Yeah, maybe
organization.
the organization is kind of taking a turn because you do see that. Some people don't believe that. They just think that doesn't exist. There is a human element to it that these
Yeah.
players see organizations, especially in New York, and they say, hey, lately, at least, I don't want to go there. The taxes are high here. Everything
It's,
about you is interesting. Like, why would you want to come here? So
yeah,
you
in a
got to try to
salary
get them
cap league.
something that, hey, this is a good building to be in. We have a good culture. And I think Muji's trying to change it. Unfortunately, I'm still not sold on Glenn, but
Yeah.
At least they're trying.
Well, yeah, and then I say all those things, and then Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes bench Quincy Williams this week, and didn't tell him. Like,
That was interesting. Is it just because they traded his brother that they were just like, let's just get rid of him?
well,
It made no
they
sense.
tried to trade him, I think, but to get a 7th-round pick for a guy who's about to walk has less value than, at least for Aaron Glenn, fielding a team that can maybe win a few games to save his coaching span
Player
here.
for them too. That was an interesting one
Really
today
good.
or yesterday. They
Yeah.
confirmed that he was benched. That came out of left
And
field. It felt like.
yeah, it was I was shocking because I mean he's gonna play a lot. It's not like he's not gonna be on the field, but they did the same thing with Jamie Sherwood 2 weeks ago when Quincy was out. All of a sudden he's on special teams. We're like, why is he on special teams? He's in the top 5 in tackles in the NFL. And now they do it with Quincy, and Quincy right away was their best coverage linebacker once he was back from injury. The Steve Wilkes Aaron Glenn combo is a disaster.
But Wilkes has
And
been a disaster everywhere he's been since he got fired in what was it, Arizona? Since he
yeah,
got fired
1 year.
I mean, it's just been a disaster. I know he's the interim over in Carolina then, and he did actually a decent, respectable job, and I think that kind of launched him back into getting these high-profile jobs. But he was a terrible defensive coordinator also in San Francisco. Like it just
Yeah,
hasn't.
it
He's
never
had a
works.
stretch of bad years. The one guy I do feel bad for, though, Breece Hall, is just being held hostage at this point. It's just like, it's sad for the guy. I mean, he knows at the end of the year he's not going to be there anymore.
I
I
don't
can't
know if that's
imagine, but
true.
I
I,
could, you know what? I could see the franchise tagging
well,
him.
transition tag them,
Yeah,
right? So
just
now
to
you have
kind
the
of keep him
transition
around.
tag. And so I was talking to a few people that they're pretty convinced they're gonna re-sign Breece. So someone close to the team told me that before the deadline he was not getting moved, and I don't think they planned on it. And it makes sense. And this is where the Jets roster is so frustrating. You're bringing in a rookie quarterback, most likely.
Yep.
So why not put him in a position with a young, talented offensive line, which they do have, a star wide receiver, a really nice running back, a young tight end who seems exciting, and then you
Seems like he's
bring in.
progressing every week. So
Yeah, they've Muji's done a really good job of getting these flyers on young, skill, fast receivers who just haven't popped yet. You know, this offense isn't that far away from being competent. Now, you need a competent quarterback, but I like having Breece Hall. If you tell me Breece Hall for 2 or 3 years, now, does he want to do that? Does he want to stay here and lose again next year? Probably not. But, you know, they have 2 tags available to them, and that's why they're there, and force him to sit out or whatever. But I could see him being here next year.
and another thing is with all these first round picks now, we've seen it year after year lately of star wide receivers
Oh, yeah.
traded in the offseason and they want out. What to say you get a rookie quarterback back, Garrett Wilson on one side. I don't know what receiver on the other side is going to be available, but somebody will be. They always
Yeah.
have.
Well, and that's where I was all for Aaron Rodgers being done with the Jets, but I never understood why it had to have meant that Devontae Adams leaves too. Like,
And he's
he's been
prospering
great.
out,
Yeah.
out for the Rams.
And Muji's biggest flaw this year coming into the season was defensive end depth, where we were forced to watch Michael Clemens play a lot, and Josh Reynolds is their second wide receiver. And you look, and Arian Smith with the 4th-round pick looks to be he's a 7th-round undrafted free agent type guy who they take in the 4th round, and he can't get separation. And I think he's about to lose playing time to some of the guys they brought in these trades. So it's a conundrum the Jets find themselves in every single year. I do give the Jets credit. Every season is bad in a new, unique way, and I think that's endearing. You know, if you're gonna be bad, at least make it interesting.
Last year, it was that Woody Johnson's kid was making the decisions. You know,
Woody
Chris Johnson
Johnson's
was making all
kid
the
on
decisions
Madden.
and going by Madden readings and all the Diana Rossini reports that out of that building that came out. So it is always an adventure.
Yeah.
You can't fool. Not fun. I mean, there's got to be at least a little bit. I'm telling you right now, 2 years ago when the Dolphins were at their best and they were 8-3 with the #1 offense in the league, I told a couple of my friends, I miss the chaos. Like there's something about the dysfunction and the chaos that every week there's so much to consume. When you're just good, you're like, I got a tiny taste of that. And I was like, maybe I just enjoy the misery. I think that I've just been positioned to do so, like you have.
Yeah, especially if you can't feel confident it's going to sustain. But man, again, 3 years ago today, when leaving that Bills game, I mean, cloud 9, where you think this is it, maybe Zach Wilson's a guy. Take that feeling over how I felt at MetLife, you know, most of the weeks this year.
Wait till April.
I know, but draft day has lost some luster for me because it's just the same thing all the time. We're going to take another offensive lineman, the fifth and sixth years in the first round. If I swear to God, if I see another mock draft with a safety on it in the first round, I'm going to lose my mind.
Hey, Caleb Downs is pretty good. I
I
watched him a
know
lot
he
of
is,
those, thinking
but
I don't want to think about number 5.
yeah,
At 15, sure.
we've been there before. Look at all the first round picks.
Who was the court? D. Milliner.
D. Milner. There's a Facebook post that my memories every April in which I said, D. Milner, what a steal. And I keep that up for prosperity to remind us that we all don't know anything. You can find good corners in this league.
Oh, you can.
It's hard to find great ones, but you can have serviceable guys across the field. You don't need to have them be superstars, take up $120 million. And that's why when I got over the shock of Sauce being traded, when you settle with, you're like, you know what? It's money that can be much better spent, gives you flexibility, and you got to be happy about the picks. A couple things I want to get to with you. One, the Dolphins did move on from their GM, and I like the approach in that I would not want a GM who I know I'm going to fire be the guy making deals at the trade deadline. I think they probably waited too long to do it if that was going to be the idea. But how do you think they handled that? How do you think they're going to handle McDaniel still being there? What do you make, of the first big firing in the NFL after the Titans head coach?
Well, Chris Greer somehow had 9 years and hired 3 different head coaches. So I would say it was
Eventually.
overdue. It was time. He seems like a nice guy. He didn't do a bad job. I mean, listen, the team did have the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense a couple of years ago. I named a bunch of players before who were all good NFL starters. Unfortunately, he missed on great players. He did win a couple of trades. I mean, obviously, Tyreek was super exciting here. Bradley Chubb was really good pre-ACL. I mean, he missed the whole season. So he's had a little bit of bad luck, but it was time. I thought he wouldn't be doing it till the end of the season. I was actually surprised. I originally had thought that it would happen. And then when 2-5, 2-6, I was like, when is this? So it was a little bit surprising, but apparently he was reluctant to move on from some of these guys. I was actually a little bit surprised that Jalen Phillips was the only move that they made.
Yeah.
He was definitely a good trade candidate. Give the guy a chance to win. Really good player, really good dude. He's really loved by Dolphin fans.
He's
really
got to get
happy that he
shoulder
got
pads,
Eagles.
though.
He does. It's crazy that he basically wears nothing. But, were they ever going to realistically pay him? Coming off of an Achilles injury, followed by an ACL injury. Yeah, up against the cap and rebuilding. I just don't think so. I think you got really good value on a 3rd-round pick, but I really did expect one out of Bradley Chubb and Minka to get moved. I didn't see the Jalen Waddle thing happening, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You kept seeing that rumor, and you have a diva, really good NFL receiver on a very good contract, 27. That just
Makes no sense to move on.
me. I mean, we talk about these NFL receivers in the same breath that keep getting moved all the time, so maybe he will get moved in the offseason. I would be surprised, but it was time for him. I'm surprised that McDaniel is still there, but I guess you need somebody to lead the team. I don't think they have another good head coaching candidate on the staff at the moment. And if you're gonna be bad, you might as well just be bad together and fire everybody at the end of the year.
Yeah, just clean house at the end. I thought that if you're going to fire the GM, either do it earlier or just wait till the end of the year.
Yeah, the timing was weird, but I think it was one of those. That's where it makes me think that maybe they weren't planning on it until he was refusing to be cooperative with calls, and they just said, "Hey, we have to do it," because how are you going to go into the trade deadline? You're 2-7 and not make moves. We're just going to hold on to everybody to let Phillips walk for the possibility of a comp pick in 2027, which the Dolphins have failed at miserably. They keep doing this the last 2 off seasons where they're tight against the cap. They went into it and said, we're not going to sign anybody and we're going to let our big players go. We're going to get comp picks. Last year, maybe 2 weeks before the draft, they found out that their 4th-round comp pick was no more because there's only 32 comp picks in the draft. And they had to get rid of one. They didn't qualify. So they lost the draft pick there. Everybody, if you look at over the cap right now, they were supposed to get a 4th-rounder for Javon Holland next year. And right now, it seems like it's not going to happen. So away, like everybody wants to talk comp picks, and how it's great, but then you can't base your whole offseason off that. It's crazy.
I don't feel like the Dolphins are that far away. I think the problem is that Tua is such a question mark, and he's just a strange cat. Admitting that he was struggling because he couldn't see over the offensive line.
You know what? And listen, it's not. That wasn't like breaking news. He's a 6 foot quarterback. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't true. But don't say it. Like
Yeah.
just
Drew
he's got.
Brees never said that.
I don't understand how he keeps going to these press conferences and just saying the dumbest things possible. And he's never done that. This is a new thing this year, and he's just saying anything dumb he can think of. He's throwing guys into the bus. I'm sure guys have turned him off in the locker room. I mean, it's just been a total disaster.
Yeah, it's I think a broad shakeup might be the right move for them, but it's
And the
tough. There's only so many QBs in the league, so to give up on one who might be something
you
when
know
you're
what? He's
seeing
under
guys progress later on in their careers too is kind of tough.
such a big cap hit next year that they can't get rid of him unless they go the Russell Wilson route, where they're just going to eat it all. I don't see that happening. Like, I think he's going to be on the team next year. So are they going to run it back with Mike McDaniel? I would say it's possible. I mean, I'm not
That's
ruling
crazy.
that possibility out. I don't think it's intelligent. I'm just saying I would not be shocked at all. Stephen Ross seems pretty committed to him, that he's kind of already said on the record, like, I'm sticking with him for the end of the year. So are they going to try to get this thing kind of jump started this year and roll it into next year and then just clean house after that? I could see it happening.
Yeah, and when you got to think, and it's what I talk about with the Jets. If I had to bet, my bet is Aaron Glenn is not a functioning head coach in the NFL, and if it keeps going this way, I would want them to move on from him. But then the question is, well, who do you bring in? And right, it like I don't. If the option is Aaron Glenn or Arthur Smith or Aaron Glenn and Matt Nagy, I may say, hey, let's have Glenn give it another try.
You know
Now,
what
if
you're
Mike
betting with the other ones
McDaniel's
anyway.
there, yeah, McDaniel, I think he's an interesting one in a second location. To me, if Stefanski became available, he's the number one guy, but I think he ends up at a place like the Giants, and you put him with a good young quarterback that could be really good. But McDaniel's an interesting one because I do think he's one of the better young offensive coaching candidates in the league. He'd be a top candidate probably if he does get fired. And the alternatives, Robert Saleh, do you want a defensive head coach? Come in with a guy like Tua as your quarterback. I don't know if that's the right move
No,
either.
I kind of want an adult in the room. I don't know who that's going to be. I want somebody who's done it already. So Stefanski would be very interesting
Oh,
if he got
Stefanski would.
fired. I mean, he would be a great. I mean, they've kind
He's
of
the.
thrown him under the bus in Cleveland. That he's got, that Deshaun Watson contract just kind of completely screwed up that franchise for a couple of years. I mean,
Oh
now he's
yeah.
got to kind of do it with Dylan Gabriel, with Shador hanging
He's
over his
forced
back,
to.
and everybody
Yeah.
kind of talking, and that's a whole.
I
That
mean,
seems like a circus over there.
the owner forces them to get Deshaun Watson and give the worst contract in the history of football and to a terrible human being, and they got everything they deserved out of that. And then the owner forces them to use a draft pick on a quarterback that they don't want to draft, which creates controversy, and he's miming in the locker room and just being a child. I think Stefanski is in one of the only places that even is close to as toxic as the Jets are. You can say it may be more toxic
And he's
than it
had
is in
mild
New York.
success.
No, and despite all of that, he's got Joe Flacco bringing him to the playoffs. To me, if Stefanski gets let go, he's the number one coaching candidate out there.
I'm very curious if Mike McCarthy wants to throw his name into the ring on some of these guys. And not that would excite me, but listen, some of these teams have gotten so many unproven head coaches,
Yeah.
coordinators, the head coaches, that I kind of want an adult in the room. But I'm sitting here telling you I would love Mike McCarthy, and then we'll end up with Jason Garrett, which I don't necessarily want. Which is
You said you wanted a veteran.
Which is that is the issue. All of a sudden, we'll be interviewing him and Rex, and as much as I love Rex, he's been out of the league a little bit too long.
Well,
so.
there's a reason why a lot of these guys who are not in the league for multiple years, there's usually a reason for it, and it almost never works to bring them back. And then Lane Kiffin, I think, is the wild card.
I was just going to bring that name up. I think that's an interesting name, actually, for the Giants with Jackson Dart.
Well, Dart, of course.
I mean, that's the no-brainer. But I think he's an interesting name in
Lane
general.
Kiffin
he brings
in New
a
York,
sort of swag and charisma and everything like that all these young kids like now. It's an interesting name, but I definitely think he's going to be throwing his. I don't see him taking the Florida job or the LSU job. I think he could end up in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that he might get more money there. I mean, they might give him $12 million at LSU. It'll be crazy. I think I think the Giants are a really good fit for him. I think Lane Kiffin in the New York media would be a dream for the New York media.
Oh, it would be so much fun.
And people say he's more mature now than he was, and sure, he's 50 now. When he was 30,
than I am when he took that.
Yeah, like he was a child when he was with the Raiders. But I'm not going to sit here and say Lane Kiffin is like the poster child for maturity. I mean, he gets himself into plenty of trouble still.
What he's doing is just staying at Ole Miss. I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Ole Miss had, I believe it's 3 10-win seasons in like the last 50 years. And he's about to do it for the 4th time in 6 years.
And
Like
he's
it's
churning
just
out
it's
stars, yeah.
you could win 10 games there for the rest of your life for
But recruiting,
$12 million a year and never have to worry about it. And every couple of years, you'll compete now in the new format with 12 teams in the playoff. You'll be relevant. Like, it's not like 5 years ago, it's 10 years ago, it was the BCS, and it was just like, we're going to pick two teams. Like, you could play your way in. He's a really good head coach. I think that that would be his best move, but the ego on that guy just doesn't seem like it's going to allow it. I mean, this is the
yeah.
highest his value is obviously going to be coming off of a Jackson Dart development, followed by the year that they're having this year. I mean, if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it.
No, he's going to be the interesting guy this offseason for sure. Just to wrap it up with a couple things, normally I do a preview and what to watch for in this game. The Jets Browns, it's going to be a slapping fight between.
Watch something else.
Yeah, really.
That's what I would watch for.
Joke's on me. I'm going to be there still. I believe in the rain on Sunday. I can't find anyone to go with me right now, so I may be sitting by myself with my 3 tickets, because what respecting person would go to a Jets-Browns game in the rain in a beautiful November?
I do love it. It's true fandom. That's what you should be
That's
doing.
what I tell myself. And so the overall, the Jets, it's a great opportunity to win a game against, the worst offense in football right now, against a quarterback who's terrible, but are you going to be able to get to him at all? Their pass blocking is among the worst in all the NFL, but their defense is really good. And this could be a game where Justin Fields is terrible again the first half, and there's pressure to bring in Tyrod. And I think we're like 3 weeks away from Brady Cook time. And I don't look forward to that. So the things to watch for the Jets is just put out a respectful performance. Like, show up. Don't no-show against the Browns. I actually think they have a good chance to win. The line flipped from Jets favored by 2.5 to being underdogs by 2.5 after the trades, but I feel pretty good about that. And then the last thing, go ahead, Tom.
In the rain, this is going to be a 16 slop fest.
16?
Even though it's turf, I know it's turf and there's no mud, but it's just going to be one of those games that, like, it's going to be an offensive struggle in the rain, but I actually see them pulling it off. I'm going to say
they
16,
win too.
13.
There you go. And I think 16 is too high. I think they win 9-3. That's my prediction.
Okay, all right.
I think it's going to be the Browns can't do anything at all on offense, not because of the Jets, just because Dylan Gabriel's not a good quarterback. And we'll end it here. We talk about me going to the game, and there's an interesting tie-in with the Dolphins on this. So coming out in the Daily News, I believe tomorrow online in print on Saturday, I was part of an article of Jet season ticket holders and having their tickets increased. By dollar amount year over year, my tickets went up 16%.
It's insane.
And the Jets will say, well, no, there's a game in London, so it's one less game. But there were 8 home games this year, and there are 8 home games next year in the regular season, and I'm paying 16% more. And even if you go by game, so okay, let's say it was a normal 10-10 schedule because you pay for the preseason games, even though there's no value for those whatsoever, my tickets still went up 4.5%. And
that's crazy.
The Dolphins, they made a point to not raise season tickets this year because
they actually lowered them a little bit and are offering vouchers for people.
Yeah, like, hey, well, this is not the team you deserve, and we're not going to charge you more for it. And the Jets' response is, the NFL tells us to do this. Well, you know what? The Jets aren't really an NFL team right now, so they shouldn't pretend like they are. But the reality is there's nothing we can do as Jets fans. I have PSLs. If I decide to sit out a season and not renew my tickets, I lose those seats. And then I have to pay that PSL again if I want to do it. I love having these tickets. I love bringing my wife and my in-laws and my friends, any Jets fan in my life. It's fun to share these games with, and I'm still going to be there on Sunday. But it's a disgrace what the Jets have done, and their response is disgraceful. It puts their season ticket reps in terrible positions where everyone's angry at them. And mind you, they don't even they mail you nothing now as a Jet season ticket holder. They used to do a magazine and a magnet of the schedule, and the bar is so low that schedule magnet was really cool. Like, all right, put it on the fridge, it's nice. They don't even do that anymore. They make you pick up the magazine, which is full of wine ads,
and pay for
at the stadium. There's no magnet. You can't even pay. I can't even buy a magnet of the schedule. So they literally send you nothing. The Giants sent a package. The Chiefs sent a really cool neon sign to their season ticket holders. The Raiders give you a box that you open it up and smoke comes out. And the Jets give you the middle finger every single season. And so the article it will probably be out by the time this podcast is out on Friday. But it's a disgrace what the Jets are doing to their season ticket holders. It is an embarrassment that I sit here and still pay this money to watch this team. And, the timing is great as they raise season tickets after they finally win a game and then trade away two of their best three players, a week after that. So the Dolphins did the right thing in that situation. And the Jets, what do you expect? You don't go 15 years without winning just because you can't find a good quarterback. You do that because there's something foundationally wrong with this organization. There has been for a long time, and Woody Johnson said it. He's a terrible owner. He's one of the worst owners in all professional sports. Unfortunately for us, he's not a terrible human being, so there's no reason that he would be kicked out of the league. He's just an incompetent owner. And yeah, so look out for that in the Daily News. I'll probably talk more about it next week if it does get to print.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, it's just what a fun time it is to be a Jets fan. Well, listen, this is one of the longest ones we've done, but Dom, it is always the best talking to you, man. The Dolphins, they're on a similar track, but it looks a little bit different than the Jets. Hopefully we have something fun to talk about as the season goes on, and we'll be talking draft picks real soon, I think.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Allan. This was a blast, as it always is.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Well, this has been episode 29 of the Gangrene Against the World podcast. I'm Allan Simon. Thanks to Dom Papa, and thank you for listening.